Now I'm going to turn it over for our contemporary wisdom to Marian Straight, our lay leader. Marian?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I just am going to give you a brief report on the Mountain Sky Annual Conference that was held a little over a week ago on June 19th and 20th. We were all in our own homes, and it was done on Zoom, or very similar to Zoom. I think it went seamlessly. It was beautiful. The voting certainly was 1,000 times easier this way with all the electronic voting than it was last year with the Scantron sheets in the convention hall. So I think we've been changed. I don't know how. That'll be up to the future to see. The next annual conference for Mountain Sky is set for October 21st and October 24th in 2021. We had a report from the Pathways Forward team, which, if you remember, the general conference, the worldwide conference, was supposed to meet this May, and they were supposed to deal with the issues of the Book of Discipline and issues of inclusiveness. Much of the church wants to be inclusive and welcome everyone to all of the sacraments and to all of the ministries and to same-sex marriage, if that's appropriate for them. And much of the church does not want to do that. And the Book of Discipline is written to be exclusive and not inclusive. So what he reported to us was that they were crazily meeting and negotiating and researching before this conference that was to come. And then when the conference was canceled because of coronavirus, that was sad, but it also gave them a chance to breathe more and think more. So nothing has been decided at this point, but he pointed to two things that give him hope. One is the protocol for reconciliation and grace through separation. That came out earlier this year. It's a protocol and a plan. It would allow us to separate and still live together in a loving, respectful relationship. It does not give us a pathway to full inclusion. However, the protocol originally faced a lot of criticism, and that seems to have calmed down, and it does seem to enjoy wide support within the UMC. And just briefly, that would have the people who want to stick with the traditional Book of Discipline, they would be schisming off from the Methodist Church. Again, no decisions are made. He also mentioned a Christmas covenant or legislation that could be passed by the worldwide church that would allow for a U.S. regional conference. The idea behind this is that then the individual conferences would be able to establish their own Book of Discipline expressions regarding human sexuality. And I believe what that means, for example, would be that the Mountain Sky Conference would definitely express the Book of Discipline to include everyone. And maybe a different conference, like in Southeast United States, might make a different choice. But again, this is just a possibility. Nothing's been decided yet. We did talk a lot about racism, and this year is the 75th anniversary of the order to disband the Japanese internment camps. And so we had good discussions, good presentations that included mindfulness of the Native American, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Mexican, and really all people of color within the broader context of the simple outright racism in the United States, anyone who's non-white, and that we need to look at it. So some resolutions that we passed, there were two that had to do with consciousness around Black Lives Matter. The conference itself receives monies from the individual churches called general and jurisdictional apportionment. The churches are asked for a certain amount, and they do their best to give what they can, and the money is used to distribute to 7 different causes that the conference supports. We passed a resolution that when the conference has received the monies this year, the first thing it will do is to totally fund our contribution towards the historically Black colleges. And only after that has been funded by 100%, then we will distribute other monies to the other 6 causes. The second resolution that passed was to add a representative to the roundtable from Racial Justice and Ministries. The roundtable is the group that works with the bishop to carry on the ordinary business of the conference throughout the year. And so we did pass that. There will be a representative from Racial Justice and Ministries there. And that representative will report to the Black, Indigenous, people of color, and I think really to everyone about how that is going. We passed a resolution to move our conference headquarters. And in a nutshell, that's a great big headquarters that's not being well utilized, and it's expensive and difficult to maintain. Let's move to a place that's more reasonably sized and more easier to afford. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you about is, because it's in our neighborhood. In Englewood, there's a big, beautiful church on Broadway, Spirit of Hope Church, just gorgeous. The UMW meets there, and I've been in there many times. It's a very beautiful building with wonderful facilities. However, its congregation is getting older and smaller. And within a mile of them, there is a Wesley Anglican church, which is a much smaller building, and it's bursting at the seams. So the churches have agreed to do a land and facility swap. The Anglicans will move to where Spirit of Hope is, and Spirit of Hope will move to where the Anglican church is. And there is a large cash payout because the Spirit of Hope real estate is worth so much more. So the finance people from the larger conference will be working with the finance people from Spirit of Hope congregation to use that money somewhat for operational expenses, but also to improve their building and get it just so that they can stabilize their congregation and be a sustainable church. So I wanted you to know about that. There's much else that could be said, but not in this time frame. So if you want to contact me, I will help you find information. It is on the Mountain Sky website. My address is straight.marian@gmail.com. And thank you for listening.